Adoatv, bringing good things to life.
Hello there, good evening and welcome to the evening news at 6 on Adoatv. We are coming to you live from our studios on the John Evans at Mills High Street in Accra. You can also watch us live on Facebook at Adoatv Ghana. My name is Benedicta Dodu, and in tonight's bulletin, Honorable Simon Osei Mensah, the Ashanti Regional Minister, has directed all MMDAs to clamp down all billboards, posters and banners of persons seeking to contest for key position in the NPP ahead of the party's annual delegate conference. And Majority Leader Honorable Osei Mensah has urged the media to concentrate on the development of the country and not just criticize without any vision. Now going up north, and we will do a stopover at Uni, where farmers are complaining over post-harvest losses as a result of poor road networks. And finally in sports, the Minister for Youth and Sports, Honorable Mustafa Yusuf, has disclosed that out of the $25 million target for the preparation towards the FIFA World Cup and the upcoming African Cup of Nations, only $2 million have been raised. We're bringing you details of these stories and more within the next 1 hour. Remember, the evening news is brought to you by Asatec Roofing Sheet and Cookware, Blue City Ties and Accessories, and Venom Mineral Water. Now, moving on to our first story. The Ashanti Regional Minister Simon Osei Mensah has directed all MMDAs within the Ashanti region to remove all billboards, posters and banners of persons who seek to contest key positions in the party ahead of the NPP annual delegate conference slated for Saturday, December 18th, 2021 to Monday, December 20th, 2021. Now, this follows a directive by the NPP steering committee to all aspirants to remove billboards within Kumasi ahead of the National Delegates Conference. Billboards, posters and banners of aspirants have taken over major streets of Kumasi to welcome delegates attending the National Delegate Conference this weekend.
This National Steering Committee has taken a decision that this conference, they don't want any aspirant to erect any billboard or put banners within Ashanti region, especially within the Greater Kumasi area. And they've directed that they should remove all of them. And as a result of that, I've come out with a release that they should remove all of them by midnight tomorrow. And if they fail, then I will have to do the work because they've given the responsibility to me, and I have to ensure that I don't see any billboard, banner, or posters of any potential aspirant within the region. And that is what I'm going to do. So at the tail end of the release, realize that I've directed the MMDCs also to ensure that they remove all such items within their jurisdiction.
Meanwhile, some NPP groups in the Ashanti region are threatening to stage a demonstration alleging that they've been neglected by the regional executives of the NPP after the party won power in 2016. According to them, their toil and support during the 2016 electioneering campaign contributed to the victory of the party. Hence, they are giving executives of the party a 3-day ultimatum to pay heed to their call and give the needed support they deserve as party members, or else they will stage a massive demonstration during the annual delegates conference of the party, which is slated for Saturday, December 18th, 2021.
We identifiable groups, you took us from grassroots, but now I know they have regret us. They don't know us. We cannot go to the elder peoples. We cannot contact them. Even we cannot even call them. They will not. They not take your phone. They don't mind you. They right now they get their position. They don't mind you. You as identifiable groups. They don't know you. They don't mind you. Since we are campaigning, we didn't campaign on online. We didn't campaign online. We campaign physically, room by room, house to house. But now, if anything opportunity can, they tell you go to online, go and submit into online.
A lot. We have done a lot for this party, and we are expecting something meaningful. We haven't seen anything. We have our colleagues who are not working up to date. As I'm talking, a lot of people have gotten a lot of jobs. They have gotten a lot of jobs, but now, as I'm talking, none of us have received even a contract.
Yeah, police crime this year, immigration this year, customs this year, and there's a prison service crime this year. Not more for fire crime, walk up in crime, but it's a good for you, catch a good for the say, and penny for woman we hear Bessia, and my ass woman here, Duma, and the group any discrimination, I hear. Or would try to Ashanti identifiable group. And that's how break the 18 year old boy.
Chamaria Yono, Empo Afra Mayane Sakatreno, Yono, Tiadia Susu say, a bibiba, and a chamino, ya chamino, a bia, watana swa, 18 ya bre, ya nam form, ya walia gu, Chasaniama ya feminum, 80 a man penning for 3 days.
As part of its mandate to facilitate, coordinate, and evaluate strategies which will build consensus for the execution of government business in Parliament, the Minister for Parliamentary Affairs, Osei Mensah-Bonsu, has disclosed that a working dialogue which was organized with leadership of Parliament geared towards sustaining and deepening trust consensus building in Parliament came up with certain mechanism recommendations. Key among them, he stated, is the reliability of Parliament in executing its core mandate. The minister, who doubles as the majority leader, made this known earlier this afternoon at the Meet the Press series.
The ministry had a working dialogue with the core leadership of Parliament on the theme building consensus and trust in Parliament to enhance both procedural and substantive democracy. The program succeeded in I'm talking about the outcomes. 1, examining the measures needed to build and deepen consensus and trust in Parliament. And participants were informed about the need to support the enhancement of capacity of Parliament to exercise its oversight function through building consensus and trust. Measures such as the election of the right caliber of people, assigning roles and responsibilities, engaging members of Parliament in bipartisan discussions, and building an elite consensus on issues of national interest Indeed, some of the recommendations offered to enhance the performance of Parliament. The program identified and discussed the following mechanisms to sustain public trust, confidence, and interest in the work of Parliament. 1, the reliability of Parliament in the execution of its core mandate. If Parliament must be positioned to perform its own responsibilities and functions, Parliament must be responsive to issues of public interest. Parliament must be open and inclusive in its deliberations, and it has to have integrity in dealing with members of Parliament. And Parliament must have fairness in handling issues of national interest. And Parliament must also demonstrate transparency and accountability in the handling of the affairs of the nation. Parliament requires of the institutions and arms of government that is charged to oversee, to demonstrate transparency and accountability. And if we seek equity, we must go to equity with clean hands. So Parliament itself must be transparent and accountable. The working dialogue with Parliament, the third component, was nurturing the relationship between the Ministry of Parliamentary Affairs and Parliament, and issues that came out. The enhancement of the working relationship between the Ministry of Parliament, the Ministry and Parliament is critical to the identification and execution of programs and activities that promote democratic governance. Second, the holding of such a dialogue offered Parliament and Ministry the opportunity to identify common areas of interest, such as 1, the high attrition rate among members of Parliament, and the growing monetization of politics and their impact on Parliament and the quality of governance. We do know that Parliament, by our functions, not only deliberate matters, but through our deliberation, we inform the generality of our citizenry about matters that are germane to the development of this country. Now, if members of Parliament who engage in these deliberations don't enrich their discourse, their deliberations with research, and just speak from the top of their heads, then we misinform the public. And that means that the quality and competence of members of Parliament themselves should be beyond reproach.
At the Meet the Press series, Honorable Oseiche Mensah-Bonsu has called on the media to endear to be concerned with the development stability of the country and not just criticizing without any vision. This call follows engagement that was held by his ministry with senior media personnel in line with reaffirming the media's stake in the rejuvenation of Ghana's economy.
The ministry had a dialogue with other senior media professionals to examine the context within which presidential and parliamentary elections should be conducted in order to offer some strictures on how Ghana could consolidate her democracy. The working interactions achieved the following objectives. 1, we examined the context within which presidential and parliamentary elections should be conducted, and it analyzed the media's stake in the conduct of free, fair, and transparent elections. We reviewed the growing challenges confronting the media in performing their democracy-enhancing roles, and we consolidated the relationship between the Ministry of Parliamentary Affairs and the media to deepen democratic governance. I've already spoken to you about what we did, economic revitalization amid COVID-19 pandemic, the media's agenda. And in that regard, the following objectives were achieved. We reaffirmed the media's stake in the rejuvenation of Ghana's economy. The media primarily should be concerned with the development, stability, and the integrity of this country. Our focus should be, you want freedom of speech, freedom of the media. What should it translate to? At the end of the day, it should relate, as I keep saying, and I keep repeating always, it should relate to the protection and preservation of the fundamental human rights, freedoms, unity, and stability for our nation, the development and stability for our nation. That is the responsibility of the media. It is not just talking and critiquing and criticizing without any vision. The vision for all of us should be how to develop our country in unity. We are a diverse people, yes, but the diversity should yield to unity and stability of our nation. It should not be, as somebody is saying, that I'm calling for a national insurrection against the government. The soldiers should not sit down. Where is this coming from? We should please have a clear vision for the sustenance of the democracy that we have as a nation. So the media should be concerned ultimately about the rejuvenation of Ghana's economy.
For local government decentralization and rural development, Mr. Dan Boche has disclosed to Parliament that they have taken all prerequisite measures in ensuring that acquisition and issuance of birth certificates is decentralized. With this, nobody is expected to go to the head office of the registry in search of a birth certificate, which is now being issued at the district offices of the registry.
The functions of the birth and death registry has been decentralized, and it is decentralized. Right, Honorable Speaker, the member is asking why to reduce the frustrations applicants go through at the birth and death registry head office in Accra. And Honorable Speaker, the issue is birth and death certificates are issued in their districts. They have registration of infants up to the age of 1. You are given a certificate. It is only when you want a certified true copy that you apply to the head office. So you don't go to the head office for a birth certificate. If for some reason your parents did not register you up to age 1, then you fall into the category of late registration. And that you can only be registered, you apply to the head office, they will refer you to where you were born to get an entry number to be registered by the birth and death registry. It is different from applying for a certified true copy of your birth certificate. That is what people we want to go and apply at the headquarters in Accra. But you don't go to the headquarters in Accra for your normal birth certificate. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Defense Minister Honorable Dominic Intoul has given a hint to Parliament that consultations are far advanced by the ministry to purchase a wide-body aircraft for government business. The process, which he says was triggered by the Ghana Armed Forces, will see to the supply of assets for the Ghana Air Force and Ghana Navy to enable the armed forces efficiently defend the nation.
To ask the Honorable Minister for Defense the nature of the steps the ministry has initiated to purchase a new presidential jet, as announced by Director of Communications at the Presidency, Mr. Eugene Ahim, on 27 September 2021, and what is the policy justification for the purchase of a new presidential jet? I thank you.
Mr. Speaker, the Ghana Air Force has indeed written to the Minister for Defense to procure for the use of government business the main aircraft for the communications squadron of the Ghana Air Force. The policy and strategy of the Ghana Air Force has been to maintain a minimum of 2 fixed-wing aircraft, which consist of a main aircraft, which is a wide-body aircraft, and supporting aircraft that are required to undertake thorough and effective government business. Mr. Speaker, in the absence of the wide-body aircraft, the Ghana Air Force has temporarily been using the CASA 295 to fill in for the shortfalls and gaps created by the non-availability of the specific aircraft designed for this task. It must be noted, however, that the CASA 295 is not suitable for government business in view of its design and features, which makes it a pure military aircraft. Mr. Speaker, however, consultations are ongoing with government, parliament, religious bodies and trade unions on the purchase of a new aircraft for the Ghana Air Force and Ghana Navy ships to enable the Ghana Armed Forces effectively defend our nation and carry out their duties as we expect. I thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I want to confirm that all of us, from the indication I get from all the consultations, is that it is paramount, especially because we do not have Ghana Airways, it is paramount to have an aircraft that can do government business. Mr. Speaker, the logbook of the CASA 295, which is a pure military aircraft, is so full that it is not safe for us to continue to rely on the military to be using a pure military aircraft to be ferrying government officials. And government officials include members of parliament. In fact, one of the bodies that use the military aircraft is MPs. If you check the records, the members of parliament use.
Away from that, the Ghana Geological Survey Authority has discovered large quantities of iron ore deposits in Akokrawa, a farming community in the Oti region of Ghana. The iron ore, according to the geological investigation, is 55.22 weight% and of a higher grade.
The Ghana Geological Survey Authority has discovered large quantities of iron ore deposits in Akrokroa, a farming community in the Oti region of Ghana. The iron ore, according to the geological investigation, is 55.22 weight% and of higher grade. The Minister for Lands and Natural Resources, Honorable Samuel Abujinapo, at a meeting with the chiefs and people of Akrokroa on Tuesday, 14 December 2021, said government will ensure that the commodity found in the area benefits the people. He said government is determined to provide value addition to its raw commodity and would ensure that the Ghana Integrated Iron and Steel Development works closely with the GGSA and the community to ensure that full value chain is retained in the region and the country. He maintained that the exploration and the business of the iron will create jobs and wealth for the people of Oti and the country in general. Honorable Samuel Abujinapo, who is on a 2-day tour of the Volta and Oti regions as part of his nationwide working visit, described the discovery of the iron in commercial quantities as good news, and urged the chiefs and people to work in harmony to drive development to the area. In a welcome remarks, the Omahini of the Apesokubi traditional area, Okwajiman Kuram II, expressed the readiness of his people to make the project a success. He pledged to support the GGSA, GITSDEC, and government, saying, "I will release lands to expand and push the progress of the work as and when required." The chief also appealed to the government through the Honorable Minister to provide them with electrification, schools, hospitals, and other amenities to help relieve the people, while commending the President of the Republic for creation of the Oti region, which has long been on the drawing board.
The newly established community mining scheme at Mfanti in the Ahafo Ano North municipality of the Ashanti region will create 2,000 direct jobs. Honorable George Mirekuduka, the Deputy Minister of Lands in charge of mining, has disclosed. The Deputy Minister for Land and Natural Resources intimated that the scheme will positively affect economic activities in the community and municipality.
The newly established community mining scheme at Infante in the Ahafo Ano North municipality of the Ashanti region will create 2,000 direct jobs. Honorable George Mrekudaka, the Deputy Minister of Lands in charge of mining, has disclosed. The Deputy Minister for Land and Natural Resources has intimated that the scheme will positively affect economic activities in the community and the municipality. He made the revelation during a ceremony to inaugurate a community mining scheme in Infante on Tuesday, December 14, 2021. He re-echoed government's position that the community mining scheme, which is a substitute of the kanka called illegal mining, guarantees more benefits to the community than galamsey. The MP for Takwa Nswam detailed that the community mining scheme employs a safer method of harvesting gold as it does not make use of the destructive element of mercury. He applauded President Nana Addo Akufo-Addo and Honorable Samuel A. Jinapor for the initiative and explained that, like all CMS setups, experts will be deployed to ensure that the measures stipulated in the Act that regulates small-scale mining are duly followed. Honorable George Mrekudaka appealed to the traditional leaders and community to support government's fight against the galamsey kanker and help nip it in the bud. The CMS is an initiative of the government to ensure safety mining methods so as to prevent the destruction of our environment. The CMS is a good way of mining gold so that our resources will be protected. We have established CMS schemes in mining communities. You all should be happy because this type of mining has been approved by government. We will make sure that all the safety protocols are followed, and it fills with happiness to see that a first aid center has been opened. I have seen an office that will ensure proper administration. We will assign a geologist to this firm to inspect and ensure that everything done is in accordance with the law. This community mining scheme will employ at least 2,000 persons. President Akufo-Addo is not against mining. In fact, he loves mining, but he is against activities that destroy our environment, he said. The Municipal Chief Executive of Ahafo Ano North District, Honorable Martina Appiah-Nyantechi, described it as a welcoming development for the municipality and warned against illegal mining. He stressed that the scheme could lead to a turnaround in the economic fortunes of the community, hence requires the support of persons and institutions within the municipality.
The World Health Organization has warned that the new coronavirus variant Omicron is spreading through the world at an unrivaled rate. At the press conference on Tuesday, the chief of WHO, Dr. Tedros Adhanom, said cases have been confirmed in 77 countries and probably in many more others.
More than 800,000 people in America have now died from the coronavirus, the highest recorded national death toll from the global pandemic. He further noted that the Omicron variant was first identified in South Africa in November, and since the country has had a surge in infections, a number of countries have introduced travel bans affecting South Africa and its neighbors following the emergence of the Omicron variant, but this has failed to stop the variant from spreading around the world. Dr. Tedros said he is very much concerned about why enough has been done to tackle the variant. Dr. Tedros reiterated concerns about vaccine inequity as some countries accelerate rollout of a booster shot in response to Omicron.
27 countries have now reported cases of Omicron, and the reality is that Omicron is probably in most countries, even if it hasn't been detected yet. Omicron is spreading at a rate we have not seen with any previous variant. We're concerned that people are dismissing Omicron as mild. Even if Omicron does cause less severe disease, the sheer number of cases could once again overwhelm unprepared health systems. I need to be very clear. Vaccines alone will not get any country out of this crisis. Countries can and must prevent the spread of Omicron with measures that work today. It's not vaccines instead of masks. It's not vaccines instead of distancing. It's not vaccines instead of ventilation or hand hygiene. Countries to roll out booster programs for their entire adult populations. WHO is concerned that such programs will repeat the vaccine hoarding we saw this year and exacerbate inequity. Let me be very clear. WHO is not against boosters. We are against inequity. Our main concern is to save lives everywhere. The order matters. Giving boosters to groups at low risk of severe disease or death simply endangers the lives of those at high risk who are still waiting for their primary dose because of supply constraints. On the other hand, giving additional dose to people at high risk can save more lives than giving primary dose to those at low risk. Together, we will save the most lives by making sure health workers, older people, and other at-risk groups receive their primary dose of vaccines. If we end inequity, we end the pandemic. If we allow inequity to continue,
The Court of Appeal has reversed Akuapem Polo's 90-day jail term and instead has slapped her with a 12,000 Ghana cedi fine. The actress Rosemond Adade Brown, aka Akuapem Polo, was slapped with a 90-day jail term by an Accra Circuit Court for the publication of nude and obscene material of a 7-year-old son on social media in June 2020. She was arraigned over the publication of a nude picture with a son, publication of obscene materials, engaging in domestic violence, namely a conduct that in any way undermined another person's privacy or integrity, and engaging in domestic violence, namely conduct that in any way detracted or was likely to detract from another person's dignity and worth as a human being. She changed her initial plea of not guilty to guilty, and the circuit court convicted and sentenced her accordingly. However, she filed an appeal at the Accra High Court to challenge the 90-day jail term handed her on April 16, 2021. The High Court dismissed her application and said the sentence handed her by the Circuit Court was not manifestly excessive. She applied to the Court of Appeal and the jail term has been reversed and a fine of 12,000 Ghana cedi imposed instead. The 3-member panel of the Appeals Court, presided over by Justice Henry Anthony Kofi, held that the 90-day jail term was fair. However, it was the considered view of the panel, which also had Justices Bright Mensah and Eric Barr as members of the panel, took into consideration Polo's 7-year-old son and the fact that she was a single mother. The court therefore substituted the custodial sentence with a fine. In default, Polo will serve 90 days in prison. This is the evening news on Adoa TV. We'll be right back with business.
Welcome aboard the safest airline in Africa. With industry-leading safety measures to protect your well-being. The first in Africa to earn a diamond standard of safety. Offering a more contactless, safe, and seamless experience. Delivered with a smile by Africa's first fully vaccinated crew. Creating special memories that bring the joy back to flying so you can continue making memories with your loved ones. Book your flight with RwandAir today. RwandAir, the safest airline in Africa.
RwandAir, fly the dream of Africa.
CB will make up now. I'm not correct. Why your best mankasa? That's it. Who anyone? Oh, middle. He captures back on CB men capsules. Me see CB men capsules and I make a year.
Yeah, you see men and women's capsules now. You knew me that and one year packaging I am the
Wow! What a packaging! CB men, any CB women capsules, no packaging is out. And you also no mood any biansan wako do pegi.
Share up him for any about town man kwadano for. Any kwadano who you do and come home.
Susanna, Ghana man man tamasi.
Adoa 0247 111671 and 0246 578 750. FDA aje edwedin kato yato.
Blue City is a manufacturer and supplier of high-quality fashion accessories. We design and make quality bow ties, flying ties, lapel pins, ladies' brooches, fabric necklaces, African wares, and so much more for your weddings, schools, institutions, bands, choir, singing groups, individuals, and so many more. We use both African prints and foreign fabrics to make your beautiful accessories for you. Oh yeah! Contact us via call or WhatsApp or SMS on 0240 926 564. Locate us at Odoko Official Town opposite Emils Preparatory School. Check us out on social media, Facebook and Instagram at Blue City Fashion. Blue City, creativity and style.
Back and on to some business updates now. The Ministry of Finance has dismissed allegations that the 241 million cedis allocations in the appropriations bill for the electronic transactions levy services have been dropped. It also denied claims that a private firm will be contracted to collect the levy on behalf of the government. Per a release from the ministry, it stated that the Ghana Revenue Authority is the state-mandated agency which will receive the levies. Here are excerpts from the statement.
The attention of the Ministry of Finance have been drawn to social media publications claiming that government has dropped the allocation of the 241,933 million Ghana cedis for the e-transaction levy services in the 2022 budget, and it will therefore not appear in the appropriations bill. Additionally, the ministry is aware of agitations making rounds that a private company has been awarded a contract to collect the e-levy. Another agitation is that the services of the said private company have now been abrogated. The Ministry of Finance wishes to state that these allegations are all untrue. The Ghana Revenue Authority is a state agency mandated to provide for the collection services, the cost of which shall not exceed the standard cost of revenue mobilization, as it has always been the practice. The standard indicative cost is what is outlined in the budget. The Ghana Revenue Authority would manage all discussions to ensure full development of their current platforms and resources for the collection of the e-levy. On December 6, 2021, the Honorable Finance Minister provided full clarifications on the earmarking of the 241 million Ghana cedis as the e-levy service fee. For the avoidance of doubt and to prevent further misinformation, we reproduce the relevant sections of the minister's statement. It says, and I quote, We do have an understanding with the Ghana Revenue Authority, which uses up to 3% of the money it collects from ensuring that they can make such collections. The 241 million Ghana cedis is therefore a reserve that is intended to put aside to facilitate GRA's collection for these resources, to quote the minister. Additionally, typically when you have new tax measures, there is the issue of refunds, and we usually make some compensations for that, sometimes 6% or so of the value, to ensure that if those refunds come, we'll be able to pay for them, the minister added. So in essence, this really would be on the backup for Ghana Revenue Authority in a way to ensure that all the problems that people envisage and the difficulties other countries have will be mitigated in Ghana. So we should be ready to support that. We wish to reiterate that the e-transaction levy remains one of the efficient means by which government would be able to raise the needed revenue to support the economic development program for the year 2022. The Ministry of Finance is therefore calling on all Ghanaians and counting on their support.
The General Secretary of the Food and Beverage Association of Ghana, Samuel Adoa, has said Ghana needs to take off bottlenecks to penetrate the West African market, stating that Ghana needs to have strong financing before the industry can take part in the African Continental Free Trade Agreement. Now he spoke with my colleague Na Anyama Collison of the Business Desk.
I want to find out how the association body is working towards taking advantage of the Africa Continental Free Trade Agreement, which has commenced on January 1, 2021.
Well, I should say that the African Continental Free Trade Agreement that came into force, it has its own benefits and challenges.
Sure.
And initially when it was introduced, we realized that it has come to solve a lot of problems for our local industries. Why am I saying so? It was meant to open up the external market for industries in Ghana. But unfortunately, when we look at it as it stands now, we are still having some challenges in terms of assessing even just our immediate neighbors.
Have any of your members been able to be successful in terms of these continental trade?
Well, I won't say that they have been successful, because it's an ongoing trend and it has come to stay.
So any of the members have been able
Those who are exporting outside the Ghana enclave,
Sure.
I would say that yes, they have benefited and they will keep on expanding, because barring all challenges, if they're able to take out the bottlenecks that we look at, if they should bring anything for us to look at, we'll still discuss it. And therefore, if that one should be anything to write home about, we would want to penetrate within the West African market, and then also from the West African market we move into the general continental aspect of it. But then the challenges that some are facing is where you would then have to have a strong financial background to be able to reach out to these areas. What we are looking at is that in future, when there is an expansion, we know that we'll benefit from. We'll still continue taking that as an advantage and then ensuring that we become part of the African continental system.
That's it for business. We'll be right back with sports. Moving on to sports, according to the Minister for Youth and Sports, Honorable Mustafa Yusuf, the government of Ghana has been able to raise only $2 million out of the targeted $25 million preparation for the African Cup of Nations. Sports Minister Mustafa Yusuf confirmed the amount raised so far on the floor of Parliament.
The Sports Ministry have been soliciting for funds with a target of $25 million to help prepare the national team, the Black Stars of Ghana, for both the African Cup of Nations and FIFA World Cup qualifiers. Out of the amount, only $2 million has been raised.
Use this opportunity to announce to the country how much so far we have raised from the special presidential fundraising campaign for the Black Star and other national teams. It may be recalled that His Excellency President of the Republic, Nana Addo Akufo-Addo, invited corporate Ghana to a breakfast meeting in order to raise $25 million to support government funding of our various national teams, especially the Black Stars. So far, corporate Ghana has supported us to raise an amount of $2 million. And I want, on behalf of His Excellency the President of the Republic, Nana Addo Akufo-Addo, thank all those who have fulfilled their pledges. And I also want to use this opportunity to appeal to those who are yet to fulfill their pledges to do so, because we have so many upcoming international competitions for our national teams. As I have often said, Mr. Speaker, there is direct relationship between sponsorship or corporate support and excellent performance of our national teams, especially the Black Stars. Mr. Speaker, when Goldface Ghana decided to invest in the national team, it reflected on output, and the Black Stars qualified for the Ghana's maiden senior men FIFA World Cup in 2006. Subsequently, support by other companies, including GNPC, resulted in excellent performance, including the 2010 World Cup in South Africa, which the Black Stars narrowly missed the semi-final. Mr. Speaker, I therefore wish to again appeal to corporate support to come on board and support our national team, especially as we seek to make history again in 2022. Mr. Speaker, next year will be a busy year to our national team with several major tournaments in sight. The AFCON in Cameroon, as well as FIFA World Cup in Qatar, the Under-20 Women World Cup in Costa Rica, the Under-17 Women World Cup in India, qualifiers for 2023 AFCON, and Commonwealth Games in Birmingham.
The minister, however, asked Ghanaians to support the team devoid of any political affiliation.
We want to make history as a country, and we can achieve this collectively as a citizen and corporate citizen. A victory for our national team is a victory for Ghana and not any particular group. I wish to, in a special way, congratulate the Black Stars for their qualification for the AFCON and their impressive performance so far in the World Cup qualifier campaign. I wish to commend the Ghana Football Association for the manner in which they have steered the affairs of the Black Star and other national teams, and I want to encourage them not to relent on their battle until it is won. Mr. Speaker, I believe the Black Stars have what it takes to end the 40-year AFCON trophy drought, but that can only be realized if the team effort is complemented by a collective national support. Finally, Mr. Speaker, it is my humble plea to all Ghanaians to pray for our national team to win the favor of God Almighty Allah, so that come 2022, our national team, the Black Star, will crown the day.
Meanwhile, the management committee of the Black Stars met the Ghana Football Association to discuss plans for AFCON 2021, which included submitting of the provisional squad and the expansion of Milovan Rajevic's backroom staff. The Black Stars will begin campaign on December 22 in Qatar. The team has lined up their friendlies, including a test match against African champions Algeria.
Minister for Youth and Sports, Mustafa Yusuf, has announced that each member of the triumphant national amputee football team Black Challengers will be rewarded with an amount of $2,000. The Black Challengers players will receive $2,000 each as reward for clinching gold at the 2021 African Cup of Nations for amputee football. This was revealed by the sports minister when he met the Black Challengers.
On behalf of His Excellency the President of the Republic, let me congratulate you for the success that you have achieved, not only for yourself, but the entire country. This is very remarkable. You have indeed shown that whether you are able or disabled, there are a lot that you can do for your country and for yourself. It is in your own interest to have a united front so that government can support you. So try as much as possible to find an amicable solution to the differences that you have within your federation so that we'll be able to extend all the needed protocols. We are also supporting the team. I understand there are nine-member team that went to Tanzania. So the 9 members, we are going to give each person, Mr. President, $2,000. Thank you very much. It's a little token that His Excellency we are doing, on behalf of His Excellency we are doing for them. But like you have requested, they have qualified for the World Cup. The government is ready to support, and we will indeed put a team in place. And my Deputy Minister and Chief Director will work with you to ensure that you all the preparation that you are required towards the World Cup tournament you will be given, and support you so that you go there and live the World Cup as well.
Back to the Black Stars preparations for the 2021 African Cup of Nations, former Minister for Youth and Sports, Honorable Nii Lantivanderpoel, has advised Ghanaians that when it comes to issues of sports as a country, it should be devoid of partisan politics. According to former sports minister, the Black Stars of Ghana have failed to achieve success due to political affiliation, especially when it comes to the mobilization of supporters to cheer the Black Stars during tournaments.
To thank my colleague, the Honorable Minister for Youth and Sports, for his wonderful appeal. Many a time I have said that the only thing that unites this country is sports. And I said it is important that when it comes to the issue of sports, as much as possible as a country, we put aside our partisan politics. Over the years, our national team has suffered because we have tended to play politics with our national team, especially when it comes to the issue of mobilizing support. One of the key things, if you look at 2006 and 2010 World Cup qualifiers and the World Cup itself, there was a conscious effort to depoliticize the support for the national team. And this worked good. But over the period, we've seen elements of political intrigues into even the organization of the support base for the national team. And this always affects them, because when one particular side of the country or the support of the national team feels that they are being left out, it becomes difficult for them to support. Mr. Speaker, from my experience in football, one of the key things is the fact that when a team feels that all are behind them, it tends to lift them spiritually. But when they have a sense that a particular section of the society do not like them, spiritually they go down. And I want to say that this statement coming from the minister at this time is opportune, it's right, it's timeous, and I think it's important that we...
That's it for sports. International news is next. South African court has ruled that the country's former president Jacob Zuma should be returned to prison, saying his medical parole was unlawful. The time he has spent out of his prison should not be counted in his 15-month sentence, the Pretoria court ruled. Zuma was released on 5th September for an undisclosed medical condition. He had been jailed for failing to attend an inquiry into corruption during his presidency. The 79-year-old handed himself in to police in July after a public standoff, but his jailing unprecedented for an ex-president sparked violent protests and looting. More than 300 people, mostly in Zuma's stronghold of KwaZulu-Natal province, died in the protests. The former leader had testified only once at the inquiry into what has become known as state capture, being taken on behalf of business interests through a corrupt relationship. Zuma is also facing a separate corruption and fraud trial related to an arms deal in the late 1990s. Zuma has repeatedly said he is the victim of a political conspiracy. Prison authorities say his release on parole was compelled by medical reports, but his ailment has never been disclosed. He did, however, undergo surgery after he was imprisoned. The former president's spokesman said at the time that imprisonment had had an exponential impact in terms of deteriorating his condition. His lawyers also argued that their client's illness had rendered him incapacitated. South Africa's main opposition party, the Democratic Alliance, which was part of the legal challenge against the decision to release Zuma from prison, welcomed Wednesday's ruling. This is a big victory for the rule of the law and the principle of equality before the law, its leader said. The High Court in Pretoria ruled that the decision by the head of the Correctional Service, Arthur Fraser, a known ally of Zuma, to release the former leader on medical parole was reviewed, declared unlawful, and set aside. Many expect the former president to mount another vigorous legal fight against the ruling. He once said that serving a prison sentence at his age and amid a global pandemic was akin to a death sentence. And that is all for tonight on the evening news at 6 on Adoatv. A recap of our top stories. Honorable Simon Osei Mensah, the Ashanti Regional Minister, has directed all MMDAs to clamp down all billboards, posters and banners of persons seeking to contest for key position in the NPP ahead of the party's annual delegate conference. Majority Leader Honorable Osei Mensah has urged the media to concentrate on the development of the country and not just criticize without any vision. And finally, in sports, the Minister for Youth and Sports, Honorable Mustafa Yusuf, has disclosed that out of the $25 million target for the preparation towards the FIFA World Cup and the upcoming African Cup of Nations, only $2 million have been raised. For more news, log on to our website, www.adanewsonline.com. My name is Benedict Adodu. Remember, the evening news is brought to you by Asatec Roofing Sheets and Cookware, Blue City Ties and Accessories, and Vena Mineral Water. Thanks for staying with us. Bye-bye.